Saudi Arabia was won in the first corner, partially due to Oscar Piastri having such a good start, but also because of this guy not knowing how to keep it within track limits. Max Verstappen got a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage in the first and second corners. If you didn't watch the race, or even if you did, this video is for you. Let's dive into this past weekend's 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. First, let's talk about your starting order. Max Verstappen starting on pole, Oscar Piastri in second, followed by George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Kimi Antonelli, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, and Lando Norris in P10 after absolutely binning it in qualifying. The start of the race was very chaotic. Oscar and Max getting great starts, Oscar launching it absolutely headfirst into turn 1, trying to beat out Max, and Max races him side by side through the first apex. Now, in Saudi Arabia, turn 1 is followed by, and now in Saudi Arabia, you have a sharp left-hand corner followed by a sharp right-hand corner, and Max Verstappen simply couldn't make the corner, so he went through the runoff area and gained an advantage over Oscar Piastri, who did have the apex going into turn 1. And by F1's ruling, if you have the apex, that means you have the right to the corner, and the other driver has to give way to that. Now, if you're Max Verstappen and Christian Horner, you will then show a photo of Max having an advantage, which should have negated that penalty, right? Well, no, it doesn't make any sense. I watched the replay back. I looked at what the broadcaster said. Oscar Piastri had the corner. He had the apex. In the photo that Christian Horner was showing, this was after they got to the apex of turn 1, and Max Verstappen had already decided to start to run off the track. He let off the brakes, so yes, he is going to be ahead of Oscar Piastri. Either way, Oscar had position on the inside, Max was on the outside, and what did this result? It resulted in a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Now, on one hand, Max Verstappen could have just given the spot back, but it's Max. He's not going to do that. Also on this lap, we had more excitement. We had Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly getting into it, which both resulted in them having to DNF. Yuki Tsunoda's right front got into Pierre Gasly's left rear, and they go spinning, pirouetting into the wall, both of their races being done. After this, it was Oscar Piastri's race to win. He had the best car in clean air. He had the best car in dirty air. He made an amazing pass on Lewis Hamilton while trying to make his way back through the field after pit stops. This was Oscar Piastri's race. Now let's talk about where everybody finished in this race. Max, even though with a 5-second penalty, he came home in P2 with a very salty post-race interview, saying if he speaks his mind about what happened on track, that he will get penalized for it. And then he proceeded to not even spray the champagne on the podium like you're typically used to seeing drivers doing if they're on the podium. He just took a couple sips to simply drown his sorrows and his misery, wishing about and thinking about, oh, what could have been. And yeah, what could have been. Max Verstappen is driving that car better than what it actually is. Even in the post-race, Oscar Piastri said that they still need a little bit more when talking about comparing to Max Verstappen's speed. Now let's move on to the third place team and driver, this guy, Charles Leclerc. The reason why he finished up into the podium spots is because he went long on a medium stint and got himself into clean air, which definitely suited those tires a little bit better. He could make up a bigger delta compared to other drivers that were stuck back in traffic, and this was Ferrari's first podium of the 2025 season. If you had told me that it would take 5 races to get a Ferrari even into the podium position, I may not be too surprised, but I'd be kind of shocked. So it looks like things are improving for Ferrari slowly, but on a week-to-week basis, it seems that they can put things together, whether it's through Charles finishes or whether it's through Lewis. They seem to make incremental progress to get their cars up into better positions. This week, it'd be Leclerc over Hamilton. Now, in P4, we have Lando Norris. What happened to him? Well, he started in 10th. He completely binned it in qualifying, but made up 6 spots. So I would say that was a decent day for Lando with the circumstances at hand. Now, Lando Norris easily could have won this race and battled with his teammate and gone through this whole papaya rule situation, but obviously that didn't happen. And in 5th and 6th, you have George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Pretty quiet days for them. Nothing really to say. And in 7th, you have Lewis Hamilton, who still says that the car is not where it needs to be, which I totally agree when it comes to his suiting. I mean, it's only his 5th race in Ferrari, so you have to give that car and that team time to build that chemistry, which explains why Leclerc is doing incrementally better. Now, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Williams, a double point day again. Carlos Sainz in 8th. Alex Albon in 9th. This is the second most points that they have scored in a season since 2017. And I'll get to this later, but it secures their spot as, I would say, the 5th best team on the grid. Now, moving on into 10th place, we have Isaac Hadjar, who ran an absolutely phenomenal race, getting the first points for Isaac this season. This is a monumental moment for Isaac in his career, finishing ahead of Liam Lawson. So hats off to you, Isaac Hadjar. Now, before I dive into the point standings and other different topics, and obviously the Happiest of them all award, I want to know, can Oscar Piastri run away with this championship? He's won 3 out of the first 5 races, China, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. He's won back-to-back races with that. So I want to know, can he run away with this? Let me know in the comments. And speaking of Oscar, it's time for my Happy Hour Racing Happiest of them all award, where I give the award to who I think is going to be the happiest after each race weekend. It could be a driver, it could be a team, it could be a broadcaster, it could be anybody in the sport of Formula One. And this week, it's pretty easy. I got to give it to Max Verstappen. I mean, that podium celebration would make anybody ecstatic. Man, was he just a big old bundle of joy on that podium. Right. Now, for real, honestly, it is Oscar Piastri. He's leading the points. He's the man to beat right now. He's obviously one of the fastest, if not the fastest, driver on the grid. He's won 3 races out of the first 5, 2 back-to-back. I mean, everything is moving in his direction. The momentum is there. Oscar Piastri, you are the Happy Hour Racing happiest of them all this week. Now, what does this mean for the point standings? Well, Oscar Piastri is now leading the points with 99 points, 10 points over the second place driver, his teammate Lando Norris. You have Max Verstappen sitting in 3rd with 87 points, George Russell in 4th with 78 points, and Charles Leclerc in 5th with 47 points. Then you have Kimi Antonelli in 6th with 38, and Lewis Hamilton in 7th with 31. Seems kind of backwards that the driver that replaced Lewis Hamilton is now beating Lewis Hamilton, even though he's a rookie in a Mercedes. Either way, great runs from Kimi up to this point of the season. Now, what does this mean for the team standings? You have McLaren absolutely blowing everybody out of the water with 188 points. In 2nd, you have Mercedes with 111. 3rd, you have Red Bull with 89, which 87 of those are coming from Max. But right behind them in 4th, you have Ferrari with 78 points. And like I mentioned before, in 5th, the 5th best team in Formula One is Williams with 25 points. In 6th, you have Haas with 20. In 7th, you have Aston Martin with 10. In 8th, you have Racing Bulls with 8. In 9th, you have Alpine with 6. And Kick in 10th technically, but tied for that last spot with 6 as well. Either way, it looks like qualifying has become the place to where you can win or lose these races. We've seen that over the last few races for sure, but the field is fairly tight. After seeing the 27-corner high-speed circuit of Jeddah this past weekend, any little mistake, like Lando Norris in qualifying or even in a race, can absolutely flip these races on its head. So looking ahead, where are we going? Well, we're coming back to the States for the Miami Grand Prix. This is the place where Lando Norris got his first win. And I'll be real, Lando Norris has to win in Miami before this championship really starts to unravel for him. He won there last year. I know he can get it done this year. He actually may be my pick going next week, which you need to tune into next week's video because I'll be releasing my official pick for the Miami GP next week. But I expect Lando Norris to be on the podium for sure, if not go back-to-back. Now, some of the challenges that Lando faces is one, Max is faster in a slower car. I mean, it's true. Max can outdrive that car. Oscar is lightning fast no matter where he goes. And Ferrari is slowly closing the gap with upgrades apparently coming at Miami. So we don't know what those are going to be yet. We don't know if they're going to push those off or they're going to be at Miami. But Ferrari is right there with Charles Leclerc in 3rd with this last race in Saudi Arabia. But until then, that is it for this week's episode of Track Limits. I'll be back next Monday or Tuesday with my Miami Grand Prix preview show here on ATYL Media. I'll dive into the latest developments, I'll dive into any storylines, and everything that you need to know going into the weekend. And if you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me and everybody else here at ATYL Media if you subscribed and joined the family here at ATYL. As always, make sure to keep it within track limits, not like this guy right here, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.